5 ways to spot the emotional immaturity of a covert narcissist woman. What's going on, everyone? I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, we're diving into a topic that's both incredibly important and deeply misunderstood: the emotional immaturity of covert narcissist women. Now, if you've ever found yourself in a relationship where someone's behavior seemed confusing, unpredictable, or just downright hurtful, chances are you might have encountered a covert narcissist. But here's the thing: covert narcissists are masters at hiding their true nature. They don't exhibit the loud, attention-grabbing behaviors we often associate with narcissism. Instead, they engage in subtle, yet incredibly damaging tactics. Stick around till the end, because we're going to break down 5 key ways you can spot the emotional immaturity of a covert narcissist woman. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Before we dive in, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with anyone you think could benefit from learning about these hidden traits. Alright, let's get started. You may be wondering, how do I recognize emotional immaturity in someone who seems so charming and put together? Well, it's tricky, but not impossible. In the case of covert narcissism, it's all about recognizing patterns of behavior that go beyond surface-level interactions. So, let's break this down. 1. The need for constant validation. One of the most noticeable signs that you may be dealing with a covert narcissist woman is her constant need for external validation. While it's normal for anyone to appreciate a compliment or hear a kind word every now and then, a covert narcissist takes this desire for validation to an entirely different level. For her, praise, acknowledgement, and reassurance are not just occasional boosts. They are essential for her emotional survival. Her sense of self-worth is entirely dependent on what others think and say about her, and it can never feel truly secure without constant external affirmation. This need for validation can be exhausting for those around her, because it often feels as though no matter how much praise or reassurance you provide, it is never enough to satisfy her. A simple "you did a great job" or "I love you" won't suffice. She requires continuous reinforcement, and the compliments or affirmations need to come regularly, if not constantly, in order for her to feel remotely stable. The moment this validation is absent, even for a short time, she may begin to show signs of distress, anxiety, or emotional turmoil. Her emotional state may shift dramatically, and she may feel deeply insecure or unappreciated, which often leads to dramatic outbursts or withdrawal. This is a clear reflection of emotional immaturity, as it shows an inability to regulate her self-worth from within. A healthy individual can find a sense of worth from their own inner sense of value and accomplishment, but for the covert narcissist, self-esteem is entirely contingent upon the opinions of others. If those around her don't provide the necessary praise, she may spiral into negative emotions, feeling lost, insignificant, or even desperate for attention. It's as if she relies on others to mirror her self-worth back to her, rather than cultivating a stable internal sense of value. Over time, this need for constant validation can create a toxic environment, where the narcissist becomes increasingly dependent on others for her emotional stability. It can place a heavy burden on relationships, as the people closest to her may feel that they are constantly walking on eggshells, trying to meet her unending need for affirmation. Unfortunately, this pattern rarely changes, and the covert narcissist will continue to demand validation from others, unable to find peace or satisfaction without it. This constant cycle of seeking approval and the emotional turmoil that follows when it is withheld is one of the defining features of the covert narcissist's behavior. 2. The victim mentality. Another clear sign that you may be dealing with a covert narcissist woman is her consistent tendency to adopt a victim mentality. This trait is one of the most prominent indicators of narcissistic behavior, as she will often portray herself as someone who has been wronged or mistreated, even when it's clear that she is the one who has caused or contributed to the conflict. No matter what the situation, she will find a way to shift the blame onto others and present herself as the innocent party. If things go wrong, she will not take responsibility or acknowledge her own actions in any way. Instead, she will craft a narrative where she is the victim of circumstances or the behaviors of those around her, even if the truth is the exact opposite. This pattern of constantly positioning herself as a victim is rooted in emotional immaturity and a deep-seated inability to take responsibility for her own actions. Facing her mistakes or flaws would require a level of introspection and self-awareness that she simply doesn't possess. Confronted with her own shortcomings, she deflects and distorts the truth, often projecting her own faults onto others. By doing so, she avoids the uncomfortable task of owning up to her behavior and avoids having to acknowledge the impact of her actions on others. Instead, she chooses to manipulate the situation emotionally, often guilt-tripping those around her into feeling responsible for her distress or frustrations. This behavior reflects a serious lack of emotional growth and accountability. In a healthy, emotionally mature individual, taking responsibility for one's actions and learning from mistakes is a natural part of personal development. However, for the covert narcissist, growth in this area is stunted. Instead of growing into a fully self-aware adult who can recognize the consequences of their actions, they continue to blame others and avoid any form of personal responsibility. This unwillingness to be accountable for her own actions demonstrates an ongoing struggle with emotional maturity. The victim mentality also serves a secondary purpose for her. It is a tool for emotional manipulation. By positioning herself as the victim, she gains sympathy, attention, and control over others, often diverting focus away from her own misdeeds. She may play on the emotions of others, using guilt, pity, or even anger to manipulate those around her into making her feel validated or justified in her actions. This creates an unhealthy dynamic in which others may feel compelled to apologize, change their behavior, or go out of their way to make amends, all to appease her and avoid further conflict. In the long run, this consistent victim mindset keeps her in a perpetual state of emotional immaturity. Rather than learning to face difficult emotions and grow from challenging experiences, she remains stuck in a cycle of denial, blame-shifting, and emotional manipulation. This behavior often prevents her from ever developing true emotional insight or accountability, leaving her unable to form healthy, mature relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. 3. The emotional roller coaster. Another clear indication of emotional immaturity in a covert narcissist woman is her tendency to experience erratic emotional shifts. In one moment, she may appear perfectly fine, calm, and even pleasant, but in the next, she can suddenly become upset, angry, or withdraw without warning. These emotional highs and lows are unpredictable, often changing rapidly, and can leave those around her feeling confused and uncertain. One moment, you might be engaged in a pleasant conversation, and the next, you're faced with her frustration or resentment. This erratic behavior creates a tense atmosphere, leaving you constantly on edge and unsure of how to navigate interactions with her. You might feel like you're walking on eggshells, unsure of what might trigger her next emotional outburst or mood shift. The root cause of these unpredictable emotional swings lies in her inability to regulate her own emotions in a healthy, stable way. Instead of processing and managing her feelings internally, she allows them to overwhelm her and control her reactions. This lack of emotional regulation means that her moods can shift quickly and without reason, making it difficult for others to anticipate how she will respond to any given situation. Her emotions tend to dominate the interaction, and instead of grounding herself and managing her reactions in a mature way, she allows her emotions to run rampant, often leading to dramatic, disproportionate reactions to minor events or conversations. This inability to maintain emotional stability is a hallmark of emotional immaturity. An emotionally mature person can recognize their feelings, process them, and respond in a balanced, thoughtful way. However, for the covert narcissist, emotional regulation is something they struggle with significantly. They tend to lack the self-awareness and emotional tools needed to handle their feelings without external validation or control. Instead of calmly assessing their emotions, they let their moods dictate their actions, which creates an unstable environment for those around them. Their emotional volatility becomes a constant source of stress for others, as you never know when their mood will shift or what will set off the next emotional outburst. This emotional roller coaster is not only difficult to deal with, but it also makes it incredibly challenging to maintain a sense of stability or consistency in the relationship. You may feel that no matter how hard you try to create a calm, steady dynamic, her emotions will always introduce chaos and unpredictability. This constant fluctuation makes it difficult to feel secure or safe around her, as you're always waiting for the next emotional shift. The unpredictability of her emotional state can be exhausting and draining, both physically and mentally. It can leave you second-guessing yourself, wondering if you did something wrong or questioning what triggered her latest mood swing. This pattern of emotional instability stems from a lack of emotional maturity, and it can also be a form of emotional manipulation. By keeping others in a constant state of uncertainty about her emotions, she can maintain control over the situation. When people are uncertain about how she will react, they may feel compelled to cater to her moods, apologize for things they didn't do, or change their behavior to avoid conflict. This keeps her in the driver's seat, and she can maintain the upper hand in relationships by controlling the emotional atmosphere. Ultimately, dealing with this emotional roller coaster is a sign that you are engaging with someone who struggles with emotional regulation and maturity. Instead of learning to process and express her emotions in a healthy, grounded manner, she allows them to dictate her actions, creating a volatile, exhausting environment for everyone involved. This behavior is a clear sign of emotional immaturity, as it reflects an inability to manage and control one's own emotions without external influences or reactions from others. 4. Manipulation through guilt. Covert narcissist women are often exceptionally skilled at using guilt as a powerful tool of manipulation, and they use it with great precision to control and influence those around them. One of the ways they do this is by invoking pity, painting themselves as a victim of mistreatment, or making subtle hints that you owe her something for everything she has supposedly done for you. She may express herself in ways that tug at your heartstrings, playing on your empathy and desire to help, often creating an emotional environment where you feel responsible for her happiness or well-being. The guilt she imposes is rarely overt, but is incredibly potent, silently eating away at your peace of mind and subtly altering your behavior to align with her desires. This tactic can be very difficult to recognize, especially because it often doesn't come in the form of direct demands or accusations. Instead, she might make a statement that seems innocent on the surface, but carries a weight of guilt underneath. For example, she may say something like, "I guess I'm just not as important as other people," or, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me." These kinds of comments are designed to make you feel responsible for her emotional state, even though you haven't actually done anything wrong. Over time, these guilt-laden remarks can begin to chip away at your self-confidence, making you question your actions and intentions, and leading you to believe that you are in some way at fault. The manipulation through guilt is so powerful because it plays on your natural instinct to be caring, compassionate, and considerate of others' feelings. She will exploit these qualities, presenting herself as someone in need of help or emotional support, and making you feel like a bad person if you don't provide it. It's a classic narcissistic tactic designed to make you feel indebted to her, even though you may have done nothing to deserve that feeling. It causes you to question your decisions, second-guess your motivations, and feel as though you owe her something just because she has made you feel guilty for not doing more. In this way, she keeps you in a state of perpetual emotional imbalance, never fully able to trust your own judgments or decisions. This kind of emotional manipulation reflects a deeper insecurity within the narcissist, as she relies on external validation and the emotions of others to maintain a sense of self-worth. Instead of taking responsibility for her own actions and emotions, she deflects blame and makes others carry the burden of her dissatisfaction, self-pity, or unmet expectations. Her inability to regulate her own emotions and address her own needs in a healthy way leads her to manipulate others to fill the emotional void she feels inside. By making you feel guilty for not meeting her expectations, she shifts the focus away from her own shortcomings and places it squarely on you. This kind of behavior is emotionally immature because it reflects a refusal to accept responsibility for her own feelings and actions. A mature individual can express their needs, frustrations, and desires without manipulating others into feeling guilty or obligated. However, the covert narcissist avoids this emotional maturity by using guilt as a tool to control the dynamics of the relationship. It creates an unhealthy power imbalance, where she is allowed to remain in a constant state of victimhood, while you are left feeling like you are always in the wrong. This dynamic not only leaves you emotionally drained and confused, but also prevents any genuine emotional growth from taking place between the two of you. Moreover, the manipulation through guilt can extend beyond just one instance. Over time, it can become a repetitive cycle that keeps you stuck in a pattern of self-doubt and guilt. She may create new situations where you feel like you're always the one who has to make up for her perceived hurt or disappointment. Each time you give in to this guilt, you reinforce her control and allow the unhealthy dynamic to continue. In this way, she gradually conditions you to respond to her emotional cues in the exact way she desires, making it even harder to break free from her influence. This manipulation is a reflection of her inability to engage in relationships in a mature, healthy manner. Instead of confronting her own emotional vulnerabilities, she turns them into tools of control. This dynamic is a clear sign of emotional immaturity and a lack of self-awareness, as the narcissist avoids taking responsibility for her own behavior, choosing instead to manipulate others into carrying the emotional weight of her issues. 5. The fear of abandonment and control. A covert narcissist woman often harbors a deep-seated fear of abandonment that, in many cases, manifests as controlling behaviors. At the core of this fear is a profound insecurity. She worries that if she lets go or allows too much freedom within the relationship, she will be left behind, and her already fragile sense of self-worth will disintegrate. This fear of being abandoned can be all-consuming, leading her to subtly manipulate situations in a way that isolates you from your friends, family, or other social connections. Rather than outright demanding your undivided attention or forbidding you from spending time with others, her tactics may be much more covert. She might guilt-trip you for not prioritizing her or imply that your commitment to her should come before any other relationship in your life. This constant emotional pressure can create a sense of obligation in you to always choose her needs over your own. And any time you spend with others may be met with passive-aggressive remarks or quiet resentment. For instance, she might say something like, "I guess I'm just not as important as your friends," or "It's fine, go ahead and spend time with them, I'll be fine." Though these comments might seem innocent or casual, they carry an underlying expectation that you will feel guilty for wanting to maintain your other relationships, making you feel as though you're neglecting her or failing her in some way. The message is clear. If you don't give her all of your attention, she might abandon you emotionally, or even worse, she might make you feel like you are abandoning her. This control tactic is not just about limiting your social interactions, but about fostering a sense of dependency, where she is the center of your emotional world, and any deviation from this dynamic feels like a betrayal to her. It's a way for her to keep you in check, ensuring that you prioritize her over everything else, while subtly undermining the other important relationships in your life. She may not always do this in a blatant or overt way. Instead, it's often more about creating a situation in which you feel compelled to meet her emotional needs to the detriment of your own personal boundaries or happiness. The underlying motivation for this behavior is her fear of abandonment, an irrational yet deeply ingrained anxiety that, if left unchecked, can drive her to take drastic measures to ensure that she remains the focal point of your life. She believes that if she allows too much emotional distance between you and others, or if you gain too much independence, she risks losing you altogether. This insecurity, rooted in a fragile sense of self-worth, manifests in her need to control the relationship by stifling your autonomy and demanding that your focus remain entirely on her. However, this controlling behavior is not just a tactic to keep you from abandoning her. It is also an indicator of emotional immaturity. Her inability to trust in the health and stability of a relationship without constant reassurance or emotional manipulation highlights a fundamental lack of emotional maturity. A mature partner is comfortable with healthy boundaries and understands that trust and independence are key components of any strong relationship. In contrast, a covert narcissist is unable to maintain this kind of balance. She struggles to see the value in allowing you space to nurture other relationships or pursue personal interests without feeling threatened by them. This fear-driven control also reflects a deeper emotional immaturity, as it shows that she has not developed the capacity for healthy interdependence, where both partners are able to maintain their individuality while still being emotionally connected. Instead, she relies on constant validation and attention to feel secure. She is incapable of allowing you the space you need to breathe, grow, and be yourself without feeling that she is losing control over you or the relationship. Ultimately, the fear of abandonment in a covert narcissist woman can create a toxic, suffocating atmosphere in the relationship. Our need to control your interactions with others, the demands for your constant attention, and the guilt-tripping tactics she employs are all mechanisms to stave off the deep-rooted fear of being left behind. However, her inability to trust and let go of control only deepens her emotional instability, making it increasingly difficult for her to engage in healthy, balanced relationships where both individuals can thrive. And that's a wrap for today's discussion. I really hope this video helped you gain some clarity on how to spot the emotional immaturity of a covert narcissist woman. Remember, these behaviors can be subtle, and it often takes time to recognize them. But once you do, you'll be able to protect yourself from the emotional turmoil that comes with such relationships. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and take care of yourselves. Until next time.